Hey there folks, it's Joshua from the future here with a warning about this video. I know what you guys really want to know about the ClearView is, for the price of the ClearView, do you get much better RF performance, range, multipath rejection, etc., etc., etc. And I am going to do that video, but this is not that video. The RF performance video is coming up. I'm going to put all of them head to head against each other in a rigorous set of test conditions and see how they stack up. This video is just like the other videos I've been doing for the LaForge and the TrueD, where we go through the interface and we look at the features. And I want you guys to be aware of that, because when you see the title and it says ClearView, you probably think it's going to be an RF video, and I don't want you watching the whole video wondering when it's going to get to that. It's not. The thing is, if I got to sit in a McLaren supercar, I would want to look at how the freaking trip computer worked and the nav computer. Like, when you spend that much on something, what do you get? And so for those of you who want to see what the day-to-day process of living with the ClearView might be like, this is the video for you. And if all you want is me flying around seeing how the reception is, that video is coming, but this is not that video. And now we come to the ClearView, which I've been touting in earlier videos as a $700 video receiver. And that's not exactly accurate, and there's for two reasons. Number one, it's not $700, it's only $680. So there you go. Pull out your wallets, folks. And the other reason is that there's actually two versions of this. There's the Pro version, which is what I've got, and then there's the Racing version, which has a slightly different feature set and is only $400, which it's, $400 is still a lot to pay for a receiver, but it's a lot less than $700. But let's be honest, most of us are not going to buy this receiver at either $400 or $700 for the Racing or the Pro version. And nobody is under any illusions. I don't get the impression that this is intended as a general purpose mass market product. This is a product that is intended towards the high end. This is intended as a pro grade product. If you work in the back of a restaurant and you buy a mixer, you're going to spend $10,000 on the mixer, right? That's who this is targeted at. People who do this for a living. So the idea here is that this is a pro-grade product that delivers pro-level features at a pro-level price. And we'll see if that's true. In fact, I'm going to show it to you and you can decide for yourself if you think that's true. And then also in this video, towards the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through the differences between the Pro version and the Racing version so you can see what you get for $400 versus $680. But let's take a look at the Pro version now. We'll dive in and show you what you get. Alright, so let's take a look at the menus on the ClearView. And the menus are accessed via a single button on the receiver. It's the old short press, long press method. Here's my fascinating video feed, and I'm going to press the button. And if I just short press the button, this menu pops up. And if I do release it, it goes back to the video. So I got this quick overview here of the situation. And then if I keep holding the button down long enough, I get the option to go either back to my live video or to do some configuration. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I can configure in the user menu. So let's see, we can change the receiving frequency. We can do the band analysis or the band scanner. We can set up receiver options and settings. We can turn the OSD on and off, or we can turn the receiver off. And I like how at the bottom here, we've always got this help text that tells us helpful information about what happens if I do the long press or the short press. Let's go ahead and change the frequency. And of course, we can step through all the frequencies that we want. Now here's a place where it starts to get a little annoying with the long press, short press, because like even a jog dial to scroll through these options would speed things up a lot. However, as you will see, you can set your favorite channel set, and then it's a lot easier to skip through the channels simply by not having to go through all of them. So here we are in the band scanner. This is what's known as channel mode, where it scrolls through the channels and it shows you the signal strength on each of the channels. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my copter on.
Telemetry recovered. Battery critical.
And we can see that immediately I can pick out the frequency that I'm on. And we can also see that the noise floor across the band has increased. These marks here that used to be nothing now are something. So we're seeing noise across the floor, and that is just for your edification. That's why if you're near enough to someone's goggles with your copter when you power up, even if you're not on the same channel as them, you will still block off their signal, knock them off the air. So we can see what channel I'm on here. Now I can switch from channel mode over to spectrum analyzer mode, and when I do that, I can pick an individual frequency to look at and see what the signal strength is on that frequency. So at the moment, and this is something that is in a full-fledged spectrum analyzer, if you've ever seen one, here's where my pointer is. I can see the frequency and the signal strength on that frequency. So then if I press the button to scan through the frequencies, I can see the signal strength on each of the frequencies. And notice on the very strong ones it says negative 55 or stronger. It doesn't go above negative 55 dBm. So I can see what the noise floor is on each of these frequencies. I can find the quietest frequency if I'm in an area where there's maybe some kind of noise, some kind of interference. Like I wouldn't necessarily want to be up here on in the 5900s. And that is your band scanner. And of course, from your band scanner, you can jump to whichever channel you prefer. And if I take the spectrum analyzer back to channel mode, or I could also do this in spectrum mode, but I can tune to a given frequency as such, and I can long press to jump to that frequency, and there we go. Now I'm looking at my video feed. The receiver options and settings, we can change what's on the OSD. So in other words, we can turn individual, and the OSD is this thing up here, and we can turn the individual things on and off, including this option. This will be to configure your call sign, and we can move the OSD around the screen if we so desire. We can enable and disable certain frequencies, and so if there are frequencies that we don't want to use, for example, because some of these frequencies may not be legal in some of the countries in which you guys are in, or other reasons why you don't want to use certain frequencies, you can turn them off, so you will just, you won't use them, and you'll just long press to enable or disable an individual frequency. And as you can see, it's pretty tedious to have to go through this with the clicky button. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's a little tedious, especially if I was like off, click, off, click, that's, and then, oh, I messed up. Hold on, I have to go back through. For $700, perhaps I'd like a little mini joystick, perhaps. We'll see, we can set custom frequencies, and here, these are just user frequencies, so it may be easier for you to manually set the frequencies you want to use rather than to completely disable the frequencies you don't want to use. But here, we can enable and disable individual frequencies and change the individual user frequencies. So this is analogous to the favorites on the LaForge or the working channel set on the TrueD. Another thing that's important for you to know about this product is that it is not a diversity receiver. You might think it's a diversity receiver. It's got two antennas here, right? So clearly it's diversity. And I used to think it was a diversity receiver, and you may even catch me calling it a diversity receiver in an earlier video. I've been set straight. In fact, the folks at Iftron Tech say that one of the hardest things they have to do to get their users to appreciate the product properly is to get people to stop treating it like a diversity receiver. If you put a patch antenna here and a cloverleaf here like you would with your LaForge or your TrueD, you're actually defeating this magic algorithm in here, whatever it is that you paid $700 for, or $400 with the racing mode. And the folks at Iftron Tech say that actually it's so freaking good that even when you use it wrong, it still usually beats a traditional receiver. And we're going to find out if that's true in my RF testing, because I'm going to do that. Obviously, I'm going to do that. But for now, we'll take them at their word, for the sake of this video at least, and say that the way that you're supposed to use this is you put the same antenna on both sides, exactly the same antenna on both sides, and those antennas pick up the signal, and then magic happens in here, and clear video comes out there. So if you were to try to use directional antennas, so this is the Pro receiver comes with these two 8 dBi directional antennas. So the Pro receiver comes with these two 8 dBi directional antennas. And you might think, my thought was, okay, so the smart thing to do is you aim one of them that way, and you aim one of them that way, and then, oh, you have it, like you can go all the way up the street one way and all the way down the street the other way, and do these really long passes up the street where the whole time you're watching the video, you're like, surely he's out of range, surely he's going to fail safe, right? Right? That's not how, no, that's not how you use it. You're actually defeating the algorithm. And what you need to do is face them the same way, and have them point the same direction, cover the same area, and that's when the magic happens. So I don't know what the magic is, right? It's obviously it's a trade secret, and I'm not privy to it. But Whatever the magic is, it's not diversity, it's the ClearView algorithm, and it requires that the antennas be the same and pointed the same way for optimal performance. Now that you've seen the interface of the ClearView Pro, let's just take a few minutes and help you understand the difference between the $680 ClearView Pro and the $400 ClearView Racing module. The first thing you should understand is that the RF performance between the two is exactly identical. So the secret sauce that Iftron Tech has baked into these products, whatever it might be, is the same between them. They should both give you exactly the same ability to lock onto a video signal and give you a clear picture under a given set of challenging conditions. The Pro receiver has additional configuration and slightly different defaults. It's designed for a slightly different use case than the racing receiver, and we'll see exactly what that means. One thing to keep in mind is that the Pro receiver can be set into racing mode. So if you buy the Pro receiver and there's some behavior of the racing mode that you prefer, you can set the Pro receiver to act like the racing receiver. You're not losing out on anything by buying the Pro receiver. One difference between the Pro receiver and the racing receiver is that the racing receiver is designed to operate in a race environment where there are many other transmitters on the air competing with yours. The racing receiver will attempt to lock onto your signal on your frequency and hold on to it and aggressively reject any competing signals. Now that might sound like, of course, why wouldn't you want it to always work like that? What if you're in a scenario where you have multiple cameras on your copter or on your plane? This is a thing that some people, not racing pilots, of course, but if you've got a long distance FPV fixed wing and you've got a down-facing camera and a wing camera and an FPV camera or a gimbal, you've got all these different cameras. If you've got a switcher on board and you switch between those cameras, the racing receiver will take longer to sync with the incoming signal, the new signal, because it's trying aggressively to look for the signal that it lost, and it won't sync as quickly. The ClearView Pro does not hold on to the existing signal as aggressively, and so it is more able to quickly switch between different cameras if that's something you're doing. So that's one difference between the Pro and the Racing, and it speaks to just the different target use case of those two. Another default setting that speaks to the different use case is the video mode. The Pro receiver is manually switchable between NTSC and PAL, whereas the Racing receiver also has an auto detect option. And at first it seemed counterintuitive to me that the Pro version wouldn't be the one with auto detect. But again, it goes back to the use philosophy. In a racing environment, you're often going to be switching around. Maybe you're going to be watching different copters at different times, or you've got multiple copters, and some of them are NTSC and some of them are PAL, and you want to auto detect. The Pro is thought of to be operated in more of a sort of a static environment where you want the ability to lock the receiver to one and not the other and have it stay there. If we look at the OSD settings, we can see that the Pro offers many more OSD settings than the Racing and more options to configure the OSD. The Pro has audible alerts, whereas the Racing does not. And the Pro Spectrum Analyzer, first of all, the Pro comes with the Spectrum Analyzer, which you've seen on the LaForge and the TrueD so far. It's the same basic functionality as you saw in this video. The Racing does not come with a Spectrum Analyzer. It can be added as an extra cost option, but it operates only in channel mode, not in spectrum mode. So the Pro essentially comes with the Spectrum Analyzer, and it's a more full-featured Spectrum Analyzer. And there are a few other things which you can find here on this page, which I will almost certainly forget to put down in the video description until you remind me. Take a look in the video description, see if the link is there, and if not, it's also available here on the Iftron Tech website. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up this look at the ClearView. Overall, I don't think we've seen very many things here that are like radical and new and that we haven't seen before. We've got a band scanner, we've got a featured channel set. One of the things that we have seen in the ClearView that we haven't seen yet so far is that it puts the menu in your goggles instead of having an external screen. Now that could be seen as a plus or a minus. On the one hand, it's nice to be able to tweak these options while you're under the goggles, but on the other hand, being forced to put the goggles on just to change some options could be annoying in certain cases. Like, for example, if you're trying to find your copter in a field and you're using the band scanner to home in on it, well, it's going to be annoying to have to put your goggles on. So that may be a pro or a con. The ClearView has an on-screen OSD, which shows you the signal strength, your video signal strength, at which antenna you're on, and other such things. That's something that I haven't seen yet, and I'm not sure that any of the other products in this roundup are going to have that. But really, none of the stuff that we're talking about that's unique to the ClearView could ever justify a price increase of around $300 to $500, right? The only thing that could possibly begin to justify that is if its RF performance is spectacularly better than anything else in the field. And that is a video that's coming, but today is not the day for that video. Thanks for watching. Hope it's been interesting. Happy flying.